Going to be making a really yummy dish today. We're going to be making moussaka. Now moussaka is similar to lasagna in that you build it up in layers, but instead of using like the sheets of pasta, we're actually going to use aubergines, or they call it eggplant, with a little bit of potato. Now what we're going to start doing first of all is to peel and slice the potatoes. Again, the same with the aubergines, peel those and slice them, and again finely chop the onion and crush the garlic. Now what we're now going to do is to put the potato and the eggplant, the aubergine, onto a baking tray, a little bit of olive oil, and then pop it in the oven, and we're going to cook it medium to high temperature for about 10 minutes each side. Just before I pop them in the oven, I'm just going to season these with salt and pepper. What we're now going to do is to pop them in the oven. Whilst I've got the eggplant and the potato in the oven, it's a good opportunity to start making the lamb's mince, the sort of sauce we're making. So what I've done is I've got a little bit of olive oil in the pan, and I'm going to do this on a sort of medium to high heat. I'm just going to wait for that to heat up, and then what I'm going to do is pop in chopped up onions. Pop in the onions, give that a stir, and we're just going to cook this for a few minutes, soften it up a little bit, and then I'm also going to pop in the crushed up garlic. I've just got a couple of cloves of garlic there. I'd say crush it up. If you haven't got any way of crushing it, then just finely chop it really, as fine as you can. So we just stir this, probably cooking this for no more than about 5 minutes in total. Finish cooking mine, we've sort of softened it up, and I'm just going to make a little place in the middle there, and I'm going to pop in the lean lamb mince. So I'm just going to pop that straight in. I'm using about 400 grams here, but 400 to 500 grams is good, because that's usually about 1 pack size. And we're just going to try and brown off the mince a little bit. I'm just going to season it, a little bit of salt, and I'm just going to use a bit of black pepper. And then we can start just stirring this up, try and break it down a little bit, mix it all up, and just try and get the mince a little bit brown. Now we're actually looking for a fairly dry mixture, which is why I'm using the lean mince. I mean, this is actually fairly dry, but quite often if you don't use a lean mince, you get quite a lot of liquid and fat in there. If you get that, there is a way of draining it off. Now first of all, I've just turned the heat off, and I'm just going to use the actual lid. So I'm going to lift this up, mind it's hot, and we're just going to leave that there for it to sort of let all the juices and that drain one side, and then I'm just going to use a little bit of kitchen towel just to mop it up. I mean, obviously if you've got a lot of juices in there, then you'll probably have to put the lid on and tip some of them away, and then you can use the tissue. Take the lid out of the way, and I'm going to put it back on a sort of medium heat now, and then we're going to start adding the rest of the ingredients. So I'm just going to spread the mince out. So we're on a sort of medium heat here. Just going to make a little place there. Now I'm actually going to use some white wine, good splash of that. Now you can use red wine, or if you don't want to use the wine, because you know, non-alcoholic, then you can just use extra tomato juice, which I'm going to add in a little bit. So you just add a little bit extra tomato juice. So what you want to do is just stir this so that all the flavours go into the meat, and again it comes a fairly dry mixture, so that won't take very long. So again, give it a stir. You see the wine sort of evaporated away, so we're back to really like a dry mixture again. So next thing I'm going to add is some passata, which is tomato juice. I'll just show you that. There's the passata. And what we do is just put a little bit in. It's like cans of tomatoes that have been strained, so that you haven't got, you know, all the lumpy bits. It's just the juice itself. We're just going to stir this around a little bit to get that sort of all mixed in. Just going to put a little bit extra in there. I mean, it depends how much sauce you like, but I do like mine, you know, a little bit saucy. Just going to add a little bit of oregano. You can use fresh oregano if you can get it. You know, if you can't, just use the dried one, which I'm using here. And also, I've got some parsley, got some fresh parsley. And I've got, like, you know, half a cinnamon stick, one about as long as your finger. So give that a quick stir. I think what we do now is just to turn this down to like a simmer. The other thing you can add is a good splodge of tomato puree. because that helps to sort of richen up the sauce. So give that a final stir, and I'm just going to let this simmer. I'm going to let this simmer really for about 20 to 30 minutes. I'm just going to put a lid on that and leave that simmering away, and I'm going to get on with the bechamel sauce. So we're going to make the bechamel sauce. I mean, this is the same sauce you can use on lasagna, or in my case you can do it on moussaka. So I'm just going to pop in a bit of butter there. Now you probably want to do this on a sort of medium to high heat. Once this is frothing, which it is now, and melted, then we're going to add some plain flour in there. Now in terms of weight, you actually use the same weight of butter as you do flour, so equal amounts. Now in my case I'm using 35 grams of each. Now what we'll do is add the flour, just add, I'd say add it in 2 parts. Give it a stir, and what we're trying to do is to get this to become a paste, but we don't want to, you know, add it too quick, because you want to sort of get it nicely mixed up. That's it. I'm going to add the other bit now. Give that a stir. We just do that so that the flour gets a little bit cooked, and also it's absorbing the butter. And after that we're going to add in some milk. Now I'm going to use about half a pint of cold milk, and I'm going to add it in slowly, because what we don't want to do is to get it all lumpy. So really I've only been cooking that for about 2 minutes, and now I'm going to add some milk. Just add a little bit at a time, mix it around, and when that little bit's all been absorbed, add a little bit more, and we'll keep doing that. I think the main thing is you want to just keep on stirring, and then every time it's been absorbed, add a little bit more. So I'm just going to add a little bit more milk, but also I'm going to change from a wooden spoon. I'm going to use my whisk, because that's really ideal for getting rid of the lumps. But you've got to keep on stirring just to get all those lumps out, and don't feel you can't add a little bit more milk if you want. You know, if it's not runny enough, just add a little bit more. And the other thing is, when you're doing it, if it's getting too hot, you can always lift up the actual pan, because it takes it straight away from the heat. That's it, we're just about boiling now, so I'm going to turn that down to a simmer and keep on stirring really until you've got the lumps out. So I've been whisking and stirring this just for, you know, a couple of minutes or so, and the lumps have pretty much all gone now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the heat off. Now you've got to season your bechamel sauce, so I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there, and again some more black pepper. Then I'm going to use some fresh nutmeg. I mean, if you haven't got that, obviously you can buy it as sort of pre-ground. So a little bit of that, and then I'm going to use then some parmesan, and just give that a gentle stir. I'm going to put it back on the heat just for a minute or so, just to mix and get all those flavours together. If you're finding the sauce is a little bit thick, just add a little bit more milk in there. It just sort of, you know, makes it a little bit more runny. So I'm going to put that aside and let that cool down, and then we're going to add a couple of eggs into it. Now I've just come back in with the meaty sauce. Remember, just give that a quick stir up. That's it. I've been cooking this for about 10 minutes, so I'm just going to cook it for another sort of 10-15 minutes. Half an hour is ideal, just to get, you know, all those flavours in and get it nice and rich. So now we've got the meaty sauce all nicely cooked, and we've got the aubergines and the potatoes, they've been cooked in the oven. What we're going to do is start assembling the moussaka. I'm going to be using an oven baked dish. Now this is 25 centimetres by 25, so it's square. Well, that's about 10 inches by 10 inches. So the first thing I'm going to do is to add just a little bit of olive oil on the bottom. Not very much though. So a little bit there, a little bit around the edges. That's all done. So I'm going to start putting the potato in next. Try not to overlap the stuff, but that's it. That's the potatoes done. Then I'm going to pop in the aubergines, or the eggplant. Now you can see with those, they're actually quite limp. That's the whole idea of using the potato, because We want to give it a little bit of body, so when you serve it up, you know, it's not all limp and that, it's sort of nice. I'm then going to add some cheese. Now the ideal cheese for doing this is mozzarella. If not, you know, just grated cheese, whatever's your favourite really. Now I'm also going to use a little bit of parmesan, just build these layers up, give it all those flavours. On top of that I'm going to use some of that meaty sauce. So just spread that around, and I'd probably say use half the amount you've got sort of made up. Spread that out. Then I'm going to put the rest of the eggplant, the aubergines, and again add a bit more cheese there, sort of mozzarella, a little bit more parmesan. I'm just going to use the rest of the sauce now. Now I just want to show you, I actually got the cinnamon sticks. You want to take those out. My one actually split apart, but they're really there just for the flavours. You don't want to be eating any of the cinnamon stick. So just spread this around fairly thinly, because it's really nice and flavoursome. Again, you can put a little thin layer of cheese on there, a little bit of parmesan, and just build those layers up with those flavours. Now we've got the bechamel sauce, which I'm just about to pop in a couple of beaten eggs, and we just want to kind of stir these together. Once they're all mixed in, you can literally just pour it over, like so. Try and spread it evenly all around the edges. Now I'm just going to use my wooden spoon, and I'm going to spread that right around the edges. I'm just going to finish that off with a little bit of, again, parmesan. It's always really nice just on top. And the final ingredient I'm going to add is going to be some breadcrumbs. So I'm just going to sprinkle some breadcrumbs. I mean, I've just made these up, but you can buy the breadcrumbs. It just gives it a nice sort of colour really on top. I think we're pretty much done, and we can now pop that in the oven. Okay, we've got the moussaka all ready to go in the oven. I'm going to put it into a preheated oven around about 180 to 200 degrees Celsius, and that's about 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to cook that between 45 minutes and probably an hour to get it nice and sort of golden brown on top. It's going to be delicious. I've taken the moussaka out of the oven and it looks really scrummy. I mean, there's a really nice colour. This is the sort of parmesan colour, and you've got the breadcrumbs there on top, nice golden brown. Looks really delicious. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this for about 15-20 minutes, even half an hour, before I serve it up, because I think traditionally it is served, you know, a little bit cooler, not piping hot. So just going to leave that, and then we'll come back and serve a piece up. I've left the moussaka for about 20 minutes so it's cooled down. Now when I came back in the kitchen, the smells absolutely smells yummy. So what we're going to do is cut a piece out. I'm going to serve it up on a plate so you can have a look. Now I'm just going to cut myself a piece, so I think I'll have a little bit there. Cuts really easily actually. Again, along the side there. Now I'm just going to serve it up on a plate, so I can just carefully try and get in there. There you go. You can see that looks really nice. If I just serve it up on a plate. Look at that, delicious. See, it's got a nice, let's just open up a little bit, you can see, nice and moist, beautiful with those cheeses. Let's, I'm going to try a little bit of that. Now I'm just going to try a little bit of this, so let's start by cutting it in half, so you can really kind of see what's in there. So you can see you've got the nice layers. Let me just try some of this. Look at that, nice piece there. Just going to try that. That's really nice and flavoursome. Absolutely lovely actually. Really nice. You can taste, you know, all the little flavours we put in there. It's actually really quite a simple dish to do. Takes a little while to make, but really delicious, and I hope you enjoy it.